have breaking news tonight. Just moments ago, a federal judge in Virginia sentenced Paul Manafort to nearly 4 years, 47 months altogether. That sentence has handed down was just moments ago in the Eastern District of Virginia, just across the river from here, where Manafort was convicted of 8 felony counts last summer. Speaking in his own defense during this hearing today, Manafort addressed the court, quote, "To say I've been humiliated and shamed would be a gross understatement. I ask for your compassion." Well, he got it. But it could also be worse for him next week for his campaign manager, for Trump's campaign manager from 2016, because another judge is coming next week. Today's sentencing is just one of 2 cases against Manafort. He'll be sentenced on 2 additional charges of conspiracy here in Washington, D.C. next Wednesday. That means that Manafort still faces a possible consecutive sentence up to 10 more years on top of what he got today. This marks a stunning fall from grace, of course, for the president's 2016 campaign chairman, who played a crucial role in winning Trump the White House in 2016. I'm joined by Glenn Kirshner and Paul Butler, both former federal prosecutors. Betsy Woodruff, a politics reporter with the Daily Beast. But let's start with NBC's Ken Dilanian. He's outside the Virginia courthouse where Paul Manafort was just sentenced. Ken, I have to believe that this judge doesn't much like the prosecutor, Robert Mueller. He thinks that this guy was squeezed, Manafort. He's being charged and sentenced for something that wasn't really about bank fraud. It's about his association with Donald Trump. That's my thinking from the outside. What do you think? What do you know?
I completely agree with you, Chris, and I think that's 100% clear. It was clear before Manafort's trial when Judge Ellis basically said as much in comments in pretrial hearings, that the only reason he thought Paul Manafort was even in his courtroom was because he went to work for Donald Trump, and he said to the prosecution, to Mueller's team, you don't really care about Mr. Manafort's bank fraud and tax fraud. You only care about whether you can squeeze him to get the president. Nonetheless, this result, a 4-year sentence, is a shocker because it is so much lower than the guidelines of 19.5 to 24 years. I mean, there were predictions of potentially 12 years, 8 years. I didn't hear a single prediction of 4 years in this case because not only was Paul Manafort convicted of 8 felonies here in this courthouse behind me, Chris, but then he went on to commit other crimes after he was convicted. He reached a plea deal with the special counsel and then lied and broke the plea deal. And essentially what Judge T.S. Ellis has said is that conduct doesn't amount to much for him. He's going to treat Manafort like any other white-collar offender and give him what many people will perceive as a relatively light sentence, particularly, Chris, because in the statement that Manafort made to this court shortly before being sentenced, he did not apologize. He did not express remorse. He essentially talked about how painful this had been for his family and that he'd been humiliated and he'd been in solitary confinement, but not one word about his conduct and about his crimes. It was so surprising that some people looked at it and said, well, this is a man who expects to get a pardon, or he is crippled by self-destructive arrogance. But that's what happened. Ellis did mention that he was surprised that Manafort didn't express regret, but he didn't reflect that in his sentencing whatsoever, Chris.
Well, Ken Dilanian, we'll be back to you later in this big hour news. Anyway, the judge at Manafort's sentencing right now said he disagreed with the 19 to 24 year sentence guidelines the prosecutors wanted for Manafort, saying these guidelines are quite high. I think this sentencing range is excessive. That's the judge talking today. The judge also said of Manafort, he has been a good friend to others, a generous person. He has lived an otherwise blameless life. All on the record today in giving him the lighter sentence. I want to go to Glenn Kirshner right now. Shocking news.
Shocking. And I'll tell you, as a former prosecutor, I'm embarrassed. As an American, I'm upset because, what did we hear Paul Manafort say after he landed the position as Trump's campaign chairman? How do I use this to get whole with the Russians? And a Judge Ellis will basically throw that out the window in favor of giving him a sentence that is so far below the guidelines that it is an outrage. And just as proud as I was to be in the courtroom when Judge Emmett Sullivan called out Mike Flynn for being a traitor to the country and for disrespecting everything the flag stands for, I am just as disappointed with Judge Ellis, who apparently knows better than the Guideline Sentencing Commission, who said for these crimes, this man deserves 19 to 24 years, and he said 47 months. It's an outrage, and it's disrespectful of the American people.
So, Paul, what do you usually get for 47 months? Is it knocking off a convenience store? I mean, I'm just wondering. This was pretty light, it seems to me, for the majesty of what we're talking about here.
To be a rich white man in America, you get a whole different kind of justice. The
Do you
judge.
think the judge was partial to him because they thought he's a regular middle class, wealthy middle class guy, or what?
Again, he got to keep 2 homes worth $4 million. He was found guilty of $30 million he basically stole from the American people when he didn't report that. Bank fraud, tax fraud. A jury convicted him of 8 counts, and then he admitted those 2 counts that the jury didn't convict him of. I'm actually guilty of those as well. And then at sentencing, he presents himself as the victim. If his name was Kwame or Pedro, he would be going up the river.
Well, a lot of people are going to look at this, maybe not in those terms, although we have the problem of equity in America. But this thing about a guy who stonewalls the case, who doesn't give any help, according to what I read today in the sentencing, he gave no help to the prosecution. All that 50 hours or whatever they sat in those rooms, nothing came out of it. All he fed them was stuff he knew that Mueller already knew. He was playing the game, and he got nothing. What did you think he'd be punished by somebody? He could still get pardoned for his 4 years.
There's no way to interpret this sentence as anything other than Judge Ellis delivering a stunning criticism of the Mueller investigation. This is a federal judge saying that Mueller and his team have been essentially misleading them, mischaracterizing Manafort, and running a prosecution that this judge, through this incredibly, comparatively light sentence, as you've pointed out so clearly, that this judge is repudiating. That's what this is.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.